Hello artists! Today I'm going to teach you how to use slats and a rolling pin to make your clay flat like a pancake, but even. And I've talked about it in another video. This video, I want to also suggest that you don't hit the clay with a rolling pin. That's called a hammer. This is a rolling pin. It's literally just a nice rounded wood dowel that I found when I started teaching here. But we want to use this to roll out the clay. And even if it's a giant tower of clay, you're going to just try and pick it up and roll it down and keep picking it up. You can flip it over. You can see maybe use a piece of white paper underneath, but I used blue because that's what I thought would be good on the video, but it's obviously going on the clay, which is fine. But if you notice, I keep picking up the clay and flipping it to the other side because I want it to be a circle. So I keep going horizontal and rolling it, and vertical and rolling it. And if you notice, the slats are 1/2 inch thick, and now the clay is only 1/2 inch thick, which is perfect. If I had done this without the rollers and I rolled a piece of clay, without the slats, and I just roll it, I might roll this clay out so much that the pressure makes it so skinny and thin that it won't be very easy to use. So we want to make sure the clay is as thick as the slat, so 1/2 inch thick. That's successful clay, not super thin. Okay, so now on that note, I'm going to make the world's tiniest cube, or without the top, so like a box. And I know there's blue in it. I'm going to paint over it. It really doesn't bother me. So again, I make sure that I rolled out the clay with the slats. And a cube that I know is 6 sides. I'm going to make this 5 sides because I don't want a top on it. So I'm going to try, and you might have a tracer, but I'm going to just take my little tool, which is a stylus or a piece of wood, and make my first square. And then I'm going to keep tracing that square. And I'm going to make slabs into like a slab box. So I have 1, 2. Remember I said I needed 5. I need to trace this dude again. And if everybody wants to make something like this, that's awesome. I can have the tracers out for the right shape. So here I go. And if I don't have enough clay for the last one, and obviously this was not exactly perfect, but if I don't have enough clay for the last one, then I might smash all the clay back together and roll it between the slats again. Slab clay slat rollers. So it's sort of like confusing, but here I go. Okay, so the last piece now, I'm going to trace this. And then I have this extra clay just for later, and obviously it's blue, so I know nobody can really take it. It's sort of like still there. So for a cube, if I made a cube, I would start with a base and stick the sides together like this. And it would make a nice box that we can put things in. See? But all of these sides are open. It feels like like if I found it in an archaeological dig, I'm like, wow, this ancient civilization can use clay. But since we're 2021, I'm going to actually scratch and attach this modern civilization's art together. So scratching or scoring, slip, which is the water. I'm going to stick it together and smooth it. So I guess I added another word, stick. And I'm going to try smoothing with a little water, not too much. Smoothing all the pieces together. And the less of the natural line you see is good, because that means that it's turning into one nice piece. So far I have the letter L. I need to add my next piece. So I'm going to scratch each corner on this, scratch the base, and even the side wall. And I'm going to scratch, stick, and smooth, or slip, stick, smooth there's 4 S's now. I can't believe it. We keep moving up in the world. And smooth out these sides. Sometimes the pieces have a weird thing going on. Just kind of pinch them together. Nice. And the bottom. If you can still pick it up, it's a good sign that you're not using too much water and it's not sticking to the paper or anything like that. So now, that's pretty cool. The corner you might smooth together also. And sometimes I know when I make things, I get impatient and I'm like, oh, I'll just make this into a triangle. That might work, but I feel like I can do it. So I'm gonna actually just scratch all the sides ahead of time to go a little faster. Scratch these sides, scratch, 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 slip, slip, and stick, and smooth. So this process is pretty awesome because it kind of makes you really start thinking about three-dimensional objects, how they're put together, how many sides. Like I knew there were 6 sides to a cube, probably from all the geometry classes and playing with clay a lot. So it's kind of neat. And then my last piece, I need to put the clay on, the slip. And it gets kind of wobbly. And sometimes if we just leave it overnight with a light saran wrap just over it, the water kind of leaves, but the shape is still there. So it's better to work with the next day because it's super, like right now it's super wobbly. Like I could turn this right into a circle and it would probably be like, oh, thank you. It doesn't always work to be a cube if it's on the first day. Sometimes it takes a second day to work on it. Okay, so there you have it. We just made a slab, squared or cubed, a slab, almost cube. We don't have the top. Now if you do want to make a lid, you can also do that. It's a little tougher for me. I roll out the clay. I'm trying to still, I see it on camera like, yeah, it is rounding on the sides, but I'm okay with it. So I roll out the clay between the slats again. So the slats are here. I'm rolling out the clay. And for a lid, the really important thing with making a lid for a pot or a cup, when I put this on, you want it to be a little larger than what it is. So sometimes I put down the whole thing and then cut it out like bigger than the actual box was. So I give it like another 1/2 inch on the side. And then because it's a little bit bigger, it will sit on top of this box better. So I'm gonna, before I even think of that, I'm gonna smooth out the ends with a little bit of water. And I learned that if you add a little coil to the inside of this lid, like if I add a coil, it won't jiggle around when it's totally dry. So we'll try that too. So now I'm going to roll out a piece of clay and scratch and attach it inside here. Scratch, slip, stick, and then smooth. And this is the inside of the lid. So let's see, we gotta pretend I smoothed it better than I just did. And then it can fit in here and not jiggle around. And also you can make something cool on the top, like a handle. Again, make sure the handle isn't too skinny. You don't want it to be like this skinny because it's like, it won't be a great handle. So it could be a handle like this wide, and scratch and attach that on top. I just make it like go like on a worm, like, and scratch and attach these pieces, scratch, slip, stick, schmoove. Make sure that it's smooth on even on the inside of it, like in here. I'm adding a weird piece of clay. I have no idea why that got stuck. And now I have the inside, the outside. It should stay on. And I'm going to let it dry a little bit in the air, even a little bit today. And then I can add details on this cool lid when it's a little bit less wobbly. Again, it seems like a little piece of baloney. So I could add cool details with the stick, or we have stamps, or just a pencil. That'd be really cool. But I add a little bit, and there, it can sit right on top of my box. I hope that if it's dry, you keep the lid off and let it dry separate, and then put them back together when it is dry. Make sure you put your name on the bottom and what class you're in. Even on the lid, I'll put my name on side. And let it dry until we can paint it. Have fun.